It is a great pleasure and an honor to welcome Tim Chaisson onto this show. He is the lead vocalist and fiddler of the band The East Pointers, and he is one of the few remaining souls who still use Yahoo as his email account. Welcome, Tim, to this program. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Chang. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you very much for asking. I should like to begin by asking you if you've had a good Thanksgiving, and two, whether or not you are recovering from the Hurricane Fiona and its damage.
Yeah, well, I did have a lovely Thanksgiving. Thanks for asking. It was yeah, a great weekend with lots of family and friends and ate a lot of food. And then yeah, and before that, the weekend before, or 2 weekends before was Fiona, I guess. And yeah, doing okay after that. It was pretty wild. I've definitely not ever been that scared before. It during the night. It was like we had two trees fall on our house, but luckily no crazy damage. Just like the gutter on the house is damaged. But um, yeah, it was a pretty scary experience. I haven't experienced anything like that before. A similar feeling I've had was whenever we were on tour in Australia when there were bushfires going on. That was like the kind of it brought up some of those memories, but this was more like we were really concerned about, like, my neighbor had the roof kind of fall in on her and a window smashed out right out of her house. And so we were lucky in the end for sure, and very, very fortunate that everyone was safe.
I'm glad to hear that. So,
Yeah.
we're here to talk about your latest EP. It's called House of Dreams, and it was recorded and published amid great loss. So, of course, I'm not asking you to repeat your eulogy here, but who was Cody Chasen?
Yeah, well, Cody is was one of my best friends, my first cousin, actually, family, and a bandmate. And he there was three of us in the East Pointers: myself, Cody, and Jake Sharon. And yeah, we lost Cody very suddenly in January of 2022, this year, and of a heart aneurysm.
Mhm.
And yeah, and to be honest, it still doesn't even feel real. It's I'm not sure if you've lost anyone really close, but it's been, yeah, a difficult time. It's you kind of go through waves of grief, and just like, yeah, it's just crazy how life is. I guess it's just, 1 second you're hanging out making music together and we spent a lot of time together, and then the next minute, you know he's gone. So it's um yeah, it's definitely made me look at life a lot differently since then, and definitely cherish everyone much more, because you really don't know. It's easy, and I think it's just being human the way we are, but it's easy to just take so many people and so many things for granted. And it's a
Mhm.
practice to return to that, you know that grateful feeling. So just trying to do that as much as possible, even though it's, nobody's perfect. So um but yeah, it's been a challenging year. But and like you say, the House of Dreams is an EP that Cody and Jake and I recorded, like wrote and recorded, uh all in 2021, actually. And it was essentially about a half of an album um that we were working on. And we yeah, we decided to release the music that we all did together. It was, a tough decision, I guess, whether to release it, or to kind of, just, kind of, as a three piece. It's like you can't imagine doing anything without one of the other. So but we really thought that Cody would want for people to hear these songs, and he was really, really proud of them. So yeah, so we did. We released it on September 30th, and we did a few singles from each. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. And it's a beautiful record, and it's a fitting tribute to Cody. So my next question is, do you remember the last conversation that you had with Cody and or the last time that you guys do music together, either recording or performing?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the last time I was with Code was at the Confederation Center. So we did um it's called A Christmas Carol, which is obviously a very popular book, and we did like a reading of it
Mm,
and with music and special guests. It was kind of something that it was just a for fun show. We did two. Actually, our second night got canceled because COVID was like ramping up on PEI. So we did the first night where it was a really beautiful night with we had like 40 musicians on stage and we read A Christmas Carol, and Cody was the narrator, and yeah, so that was like close to Christmas, the end of 2021, and yeah, and it's kind of interesting, there's a lot of times throughout the holidays that we were planning on hooking up, but we were about to start like getting back together to write in the new year and all that kind of stuff. And then, like I say, it's like one of those things where whenever someone's gone, you're just like, oh God, I should have went over when I said I was gonna. I should have drove by, or it's just. I mean, you can never go back in time, obviously,
mhm.
but that was the last time we would have played music together. Yeah,
Well, yeah. Um, so tell us about the title of
yeah,
the EP, House of Dreams. How did you guys come up with that?
yeah. Well, we were searching for a title to kind of sum up the EP, and it was Jake actually who we were chatting earlier in the day, and we were talking about like, oh, what are we gonna call the EP, um, and he, with that in mind, he was just kind of like looking through books. He was at his family cottage actually, and he stumbled across this book that was his great grandfather's, and it was a book called House of Dreams, and or the House of Dreams,
Mhm.
and he was looking at it, and he was like, what are the odds of stumbling across this? Like it just had this perfect title, and the backstory of the House of Dreams is like so Cody had bought his House of Dreams. I guess essentially it was a beautiful house on this cliff uh, in PEI where you overlooks the Northumberland Strait. It's really really beautiful, and we spent a lot of time there, and it was a spot where we would go and like chat about our dreams and aspirations as a band and just as people in general. And yeah, and we found whenever since he got that home, he was kind of a different person. He felt more grounded. He was more clear, more centered, and yeah. So the House of Dreams just kind of had like this. And actually, the cover of the title, or sorry, the cover of the EP is a bit of a play off of Cody's actual house. We
Mhm.
wanted the artist to kind of capture a little bit of it of the actual house. So it's yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And the first track on the album is just an instrumental, like kind of ethereal, like spacey instrumental that Code wrote on his tenor guitar. That we had no intentions of doing anything with, but we found it after Code had passed that um, Jake had recorded him one day at his house,
Mhm.
just playing this like little piece. He thought, oh, maybe it's something that we could use for like a meditation track or something like that. And so um, we like kind of mixed it, and or we had our producer mix it, and we called that House of Dreams because he actually wrote it and recorded it there.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up dreams and aspirations because I this is my next question to you. Do you have any fond memories of when you guys first started out as a band? You know, there are the obvious struggles involved, but were there any memories which you would cherish to this day?
Oh gosh, thousands of them. I would say there are so many moments that we've had like on PEI and across the world that like we spend a lot of time on the road, and whenever you're in a band touring all over the world, um, sometimes you're like toward like you know, in 2019, as an example, in 2020, I remember thinking like before COVID, I remember thinking like, oh gosh, I feel like we're touring a little bit too much. Like I feel a little tired, and just be nice to spend a little bit more time at home. I think just because I had a child too. Jake and I both had children in 2018, but um, but yeah, and then COVID hit it, and it was like everything was kind of taken away from a lot of us. So then I started to cherish all of those moments that we were like in random places across the world, and all of the amazing places that we got to see, and all the people we got to meet. Um, yeah, and then after COVID passed, I definitely cherish it all much more, and so grateful for all the time that we like and all the travels that we had. But I think starting off as a musician, um, just that first like kind of moment, I think I would say maybe the first trip that we made to Australia in 20, maybe the end of 2014. Because we, with the East Pointers, we were very like nonchalant, like not planning on it being like a thing. Like we were just like, let's just do this for fun because we really liked each other. We really liked, playing music and writing music. And then I think whenever we went to Australia, um, actually backing up a little bit, our first like real rehearsal, whenever we were, we got Jake's guitar, we got his bass plugged into his guitar, and I had my stomp box tambourine, and Code had his tenor banjo, and we were like just rehearsing at Cody's house, and we were like, oh my gosh, like this feels like it could be something really special and really fun. It feels like a little different. And then whenever we got to Australia at that end of 2014, it was like like again, I say we were just like, oh, we got an opportunity to go to play these festivals in Australia. Let's go and have fun. And then whenever we saw the crowd's reaction to our band, we were just like, this is so fun. We just felt so grateful that people were dancing and having such a good time, and it really connected. And yeah, those are some of the first like early fond memories of feeling like, oh, this is something kind of special that people are really digging. So yeah, and then like shortly after, we won like our first Juno award which is a kind of like the Canadian Music Awards for our first album, and it was just like, what the heck. So there's a lot of moments for us along the road that and just playing like all through Australia and New Zealand, and like even going to Japan and like Mexico and Scandinavia, Europe, United States, all across Canada, and a lot of great moments for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So assuming that Cody has not listened to the final mixes of the songs, the ones that we are listening to right now, what would he say about them? How would he comment on them?
Yeah, well, you know what? There was 4 tracks that were completely done, mixed, mastered, everything. And he loved them. I remember like there's only 2 tracks that we had to change some stuff on. Like just do final mixes and stuff. But I remember actually we were on tour in the UK at the end of 2021, and we were getting all the final mixes and mastering back. And I remember looking back, we all put our headphones in at the same time because we got like our final mix. And I remember looking back, and Code had like a little tear in his eye, and he was like, I'm just so proud of like what of these songs. Like I'm just so proud like that what we kind of like accomplished with this music, because it was a little different than what we had done before. So he loved them. He was like he was so pumped, and he was so excited to get them out. And he saw, and like we had signed with a record label, a really great label in Canada called Network, and he was really excited about that. And he and I'm assuming that he would really like the last 2, how they turned out, or the last 3, I guess technically. So that is crazy to kind of think.
I'm also assuming that there were at least a couple of songs that were written and recorded after his passing, and I think an easy guess would be "I Saw Your Ghost," the 3rd track of the EP. And if I'm wrong, but then again, I do want to ask, what was the recording of those songs like, without him around?
Yeah, well, you know what? I Saw Your Ghost is was all written and recorded before
Oh,
Coda
really?
passed away. That
Hmm.
was yeah, that was a song that we actually wrote that song about an experience that his nephew had.
Oh.
Um yeah, so yeah, I Saw Your Ghost is like Cody's nephew, um Ryan is his name, and Ryan's only maybe 16 years old or maybe 17 now, but at the time he was, I think, maybe 15, and he got hit by a motorcycle when he was walking down the road and really badly.
Hmm.
And Ryan was in really, really bad shape. They didn't think he was going to make it. It was pretty scary. He was in a coma for a while. And anyways, I don't have to go into the details, but it was very, it wasn't good. Like the motorcycle was going like way, way, way over the speeding limit, and basically just like I don't know how it happened, but he just hit Ryan as he was walking down the road, and so Ryan got obviously like when the ambulance came to get him, um, he was like airlifted to Halifax, Nova Scotia, because they couldn't do anything with him. I don't think on Prince Edward Island at the time, and his family, whenever Ryan, like they were really concerned about what to tell him whenever he came out of his coma, or if he did come out of his coma, what they were going to tell him, because essentially he had like no leg, and it was like he was just really, really physically in very bad shape. It'd be a long road for him, and he was like a strong, athletic guy. Um, and the one of the first things that Ryan said whenever he came out of his coma was like, don't worry, guys. Like my grandfather was with me the entire way, and he said I was going to be all right. Like he was with me from like the ambulance until they dropped me at the hospital. And he said this with like such like as if it had just happened, like in that physical realm. So I remember when Cody told us that story, I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like so a lot of people don't believe in that. But like whenever, and that's okay. But like whenever someone says something like that, like a kid that has no like preconception of like afterlife or like spirits or like no strong religion or anything like that. It's just kind of crazy how he really felt like to him, he was okay because he had seen his grandfather, obviously, who had passed away a few years earlier, and his grandfather helped him this entire like journey that he was on. Um, so whenever Coach told that story, like it was just like everybody just like bawling their eyes out. We couldn't believe that what like just what a crazy thing is. And I had read different books on like near death experiences that people had just out of curiosity, really more so than anything. Um, and one like topic of like ghosts and spirits, and then it just kind of came like it just kind of it just kind of wrote itself really, and with Ryan's story, with Cody's nephew's story in mind.
Well,
Oh, Sarah Chung, you just cut out on me there.
right,
I
right.
didn't catch that.
Yeah. What I was asking was that I hope that Ryan is doing well currently, physically and spiritually.
Oh, how is Ryan doing right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's doing okay. Like I think it's been definitely a lot of like ups and downs. His body's not the same, obviously, than it was before. So and there's been a lot of close calls along the way with like different things. But like he's for someone who's been through what he's been through, I would say he's doing okay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I wish to go back to my question as to, whether there were any songs in the EP that was recorded after Cody passed
yeah.
away, and yeah, what was it like, recording those songs without him around?
Yeah, so we finished writing a song called Save Your Lonely, and then we finished mixing a song and recording it, Kayla for me. So, and we wrote those songs with Cody. We just we had Cody's like he was playing the tenor guitar on those songs, so we had all of his playing. So it's actually Cody playing, and we just kind of finished piecing the songs around what he had done, what he had recorded. The feeling was very bizarre. I would say, like, I don't even know how to explain, like, the first time that Jake and I got together. It was like, yeah, super, super bizarre. Yeah, I don't even, there are no words to describe the feeling, really. It's just,
Mhm.
yeah, very surreal.
But you made it through these recording sessions, and you know, it it must have
Yeah.
felt must have felt like a yeah, like a burden has been lifted off your feet, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, even just to have the songs out, felt really good because I know, like I said, I know how much Cody loved them. So it was like to have them out into the world was, yeah, like a weight lifted and just for people to hear them.
Mhm. Tell us about the music scene in Prince Edward Island. How the support that you guys have received, and also the music that you guys are immersed in.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty incredible here on PEI. Yeah, it's like a super supportive scene. Like we have a bit of an infrastructure. We have Music PEI, which is yeah, just an organization that supports island musicians. And we have the East Coast Music Association as well, which is Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and Newfoundland and PEI. And there's like an award ceremonies and all that kind of stuff. So there really is a great scene. There's just so many musicians. Like it's in the it's in the culture here. Like to be a song, like for songwriters and for uh, you know, there's all different styles of music. But at the core of PEI, I guess like the having like folk music is very big here. Like it's there's tons of folk musicians, and it's yeah, constantly inspired by all of them.
So I was introduced to the Prince Edward Island or Cape Breton music scene through Irish Millie, a young and brilliant fiddler whom I know back in Peterborough, where I
Hmm.
was at. She had a song in her debut album titled Tim's Set, and the
Oh
Tim
yeah,
is obviously you. And
yeah, yeah,
yeah, she told me that she was a huge fan of the East Pointers. Like she was a fan long before I was, and she actually introduced me to your music. And
yeah. It's
yeah,
so cool.
she talked about Cody's passing, and I was profoundly embarrassed to say that I did not know of you guys back then, and that was when I started to check out your music and found out how beautiful it was. So
Oh, thanks.
tell us about how you and Millie, first met and how you guys got together.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Millie and her family came to the Rolla Bay Fiddle Festival, which is a festival that my grandfather, Cody and I's grandfather, started the festival back in like 1976, and then a few years ago we um, began running it and organizing it after our uncle had passed away. And I think one of those first years, yeah, Millie and her brother and her mom and dad came out, and we also had a music camp as well before the festival. So we got a chance to hang out, and yeah, she was so young first time that she came, and I just remember, when you see kids playing so young, you just know that they're going to have a bright future. So it's really cool to see how well she's doing now, and just how like ambitious and determined, I guess you could say. Like I guess just like that determination that she has as a musician is yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, it must have felt, very warm inside knowing that what you do inspired other people, younger people to do the similar things. Yeah.
Oh, it's super cool. Like yeah, because I know for me, like looking up to so many musicians, and I still do, obviously. Um, and if I get a chance to thank them for what they've done or whatever, it's just kind of like it's very humbling, I guess. And like when someone says like that our music inspires them to play, which is it's pretty cool for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, who were some of those people, for you at least, who are some of the people who have inspired you to
Uh,
do what you do?
yeah, there's so many. I think my first like I have a bunch of older brothers and cousins who played in a band, kind of like a Celtic rock band, a long time ago, and I used to love them so much. I remember just thinking like, and I ended up playing in the band eventually. I actually played bass guitar, and yeah, it's just that was my first like inspiration as far as like really learning or wanting to like play and do what they're doing, and then like throughout my life, like as far as fiddle players, like Natalie McMaster
Hmm.
and Ashley McIsaac and all like the younger generation of Cape Breton fiddlers at that time were inspiring as well. And then songwriters like Gordy Sampson, who actually we ended up doing a lot of writing with, and he produced our second and our third East Pointers album. Yeah, there's so many like the Rankin family and Stan Rogers, and there were a lot of people to look up to, even just in the East Coast of Canada.
Yeah. So, final question. So I wonder if when you were younger, did you ever picture yourself, see yourself as a musician, let alone a successful one?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I never knew what it was to even be a musician. I think when I was younger, yeah, I went to university. I have a psychology degree, and I thought I
Mhm.
would be a teacher. I thought like, I always enjoyed music, and I thought like if I could ever do music as a living, that'd be really fun. But I had no idea what it actually entailed. And then but I'm so glad that I decided to like kind of keep pushing and doing it, because it's brought so much joy to me and my family, and the amount of people and friends and everything that I've made through music is really special. And then it kind of turned into like the Rolla Bay Fiddle Festival is something that the director of, and then the Harvest Home Festival. So there's different events as well that you know that it kind of brought me into as well, like organizing music events and stuff. So yeah, I don't think I ever saw myself like doing what I'm doing, um but there was some part of me that really wanted to do it and to make it. When I first started getting into touring and playing, and I saw people with families and touring and taking their family with them. And I always thought that was so cool. I was like, maybe someday I'll do that. I'd love to, take my family around the world and play music. And then yeah, I got to do that, which is pretty awesome. So um, yeah, it's all about just trying to find something that you love and you're passionate about, and go for it. Even though some people say you can't do that, don't. Why would you even bother trying to do that? But if you're feeling it, then you got to do it.
Yeah. Right. So before we were interrupted, my here's my real final question to you, I guess, is, I would like to repeat that same question, whether or not, you would picture yourself as a successful musician as a kid, but this time I wonder if how would Cody answer that?
Yeah, the same question with for code. I would say that he uh somewhere inside himself, I think he saw it, but it was clouded, I think, uh for many reasons. I think Cody, he spoke a lot about his mental health
Right.
battles that he had over the years, and just a lot of the struggles that he went through. And I think he always had this drive inside of him to do music and write music because he was so good at it. But he had like voice inside of his head that said, you know, you can't do it, you can't do this. Like he really brought himself down. So I think for Cody, that there was somewhere inside of him that knew he could, and he worked on it every day to see, like, to bring that part of him out. Because and he was getting you know, he left us like as the best version of himself. Jake and I always say that, because and his family,
Mhm.
um it's kind of the strongest he's ever been, I think, physically and emotionally, like, and mentally. So you know, he's been through a lot. He, you know, he experienced and has done a lot than many people do in their, you know, in a 60, 70, 80 year life. So um yeah, he was always super talented, and I like I said, I think somewhere he knew that, um but it really took a lot for him to have like that confidence to go through. And I think just the three of us together was, you know, we all lifted each other up. And yeah, it was special with what the three of us kind of had done together. And I think yeah, he was super proud of it, and it was just amazing how it worked for all of us, really. So
Uh, as someone who is going through his own mental health troubles and battles, past and to a much lesser extent present, I can
mm,
definitely understand what Cody was going through at that
yeah,
time.
yeah,
So, on that note, thank you very much, Tim Chaisson of the
yeah,
Pointers, for joining this program. I wish you all the best.
yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Sean. Great questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I wish you all the best with
Yeah,
your latest EP, and of course, rest in peace to Cody Chaisson, beloved friend and brilliant musician. Take good care of yourself.
yes. Thanks so much. Yes, you too.